Better back panels. In this video, I'm gonna share with you 5 tips for better back panels for your garage shelf display case build. These are the things I've learned over the last several months since I built the display case. The last 2 tips being game changers for this build. This is going to be the first update video in a series of update videos on the garage shelf display case build. I'm super happy with how the display case turned out. It's super sleek, beautiful, well lit, and it can fit a ton of figures and collectibles. I mean, look at it. I'll be putting links in the description for any additional items I used for this back panels video. Now let's get to the tips. Tip number 1. There is no need to cut the length of the back panel to be 48 and 3/16. In part 1 of the display case build, I tell you to cut the fiberboard back panels to be 48 and 3/16 inches long. The reason I did this initially was to cover as much area in the back of the display as possible. In retrospect, this isn't necessary and adds extra work for no reason. A length of 48 inches is all that is needed. That extra 3/16 doesn't do much. And conveniently, the fiberboard is 48 inches wide. You only need to measure the height of the board you need and make the cuts. Tip number 2. Super glue your vinyl tape to the fiberboard. The vinyl white tape I used for the back panels didn't have the best adhesive strength. In some spots, it was peeling off the fiberboard. I worked so hard to make these panels as perfect as possible, and they stabbed me in the back. Wasn't happy. To remedy this and make it a bit more permanent and professional looking, I decided to super glue the vinyl tape to the fiberboard. The glue I used was Gorilla Glue Super Glue, which is excellent. Start with the front of the board or white side. You will apply a very thin amount of glue to the edge of the fiberboard. Then cut a piece of vinyl tape a few inches longer than the length of the side of the board you're working on. Next, lay half the tape to the board and firmly press down and smooth out. Now, it may move or slide a bit, but you can easily put it back into place. Let it sit for about 30 seconds to make sure it sets. Then, cut the edges so that they can be folded over. Now flip the board over and apply a thin line of glue to the edge just like we did on the front. Fold over the tape and smooth out. Repeat this for the remaining sides. I love how these turned out, and they'll never come off. Tip number 3. Super glue the magnets to the back panel. I wasn't having any real issues with the magnets coming off of the boards. This for me was more of a permanence thing. I didn't want to chance the magnets coming off over time. Use the same super glue used for the vinyl tape. Then map out where the magnets will go. Put a thin line of glue on the adhesive side of the magnetic tape and place on the fiberboard and press down. Continue gluing the rest of the magnetic tape onto the board. Let it sit for about 30 minutes before putting the back panel back on the display so the glue has time to set. After 30 minutes, it's ready to go back into the display. Damn, that looks good. Before we get to the last 2 tips, I have a bonus tip for keeping your white vinyl shelf looking good. Since I've made the display case and put in my figures, I've noticed that the figure bases cause discoloring to the white vinyl. I wasn't happy about this. This was ruining my perfectly pristine white vinyl. How could I remedy this? Well, I went out and bought felt pads for underneath the figure bases. I'm using Soft Touch Premium Surface Protection Pads. They're 3/8 of an inch round and fit perfectly under a figure base. I recommend using felt pads to preserve your white vinyl or your black velvet. Tip number 4. Slide the back panel behind the shelf. This is the first of 2 game changers for this display case build. What I mean by slide the back panel behind the shelf is that instead of the back panel sitting on top of the back of the shelf, causing a gap between the board and the shelf, we slide the back panel down behind the shelf. Luckily, this can be done without the need for modifying the shelf. By having the back panel slide behind the shelf, you no longer need to use shims or duct tape to seal the back of the cabinet to make it dustproof. Doing this new method will seal the bottom portion organically, even for the section with the acrylic shelf. You can update this on your existing display, or if you haven't made your display yet, you can incorporate this method into your new build. What you will need to do is remove the shelf. Then slide the existing back panel down to sit at the bottom of the shelf bracket, but on top of the top panel. Make a mark on each side where the back panel comes, just above the shelf bracket. This will mark the spot where you will glue the magnetic tape on the sides. You won't need any magnetic tape to go below the shelf bracket, as the backing will be flush against the back and held into place by the shelf. If you haven't cut out any back panels for your shelf yet, measure from the top of the top panel to the top of the support right before it angles up to get your height. Then follow the previous instructions on how to add the magnets, then place the panel in. Tip number 5. Use expanded PVC foam sheets instead of fiberboard. For back panels, this is the game changer of game changers. Expanded PVC foam sheets are what 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗀𝗀𝗀 uses in their displays, and when I found out about expanded PVC sheets, I had to try them out. The good thing about these is that they are not much more expensive than the fiberboard that you get at Home Depot. For a 48 by 96 by 1/8 of an inch sheet of white PVC sheet, it ran me about 43 bucks. Currently, the white fiberboard from Home Depot costs around $18 to $19. Yes, that's about double the cost. But here's one of the reasons why I love PVC sheets. You don't have to add vinyl tape to the edges. This will save a lot of time and it will look perfect. Another great thing about expanded PVC sheets is that they come in several different colors. So for those of you out there that want to do a black interior, this is the way to go. My last favorite thing about expanded PVC sheets is that they cut like butter with a razor knife. Your scoring days are done. You can make one nice cut and that's it. You can get expanded PVC sheets from places that sell the acrylic sheets. I'm not sure if they have them at Home Depot, but I do know you can get pre-cut sheets from Amazon. But they'll cost you more than getting a full sheet from an acrylic/plastics dealer. One way that I found a plastic supplier near me was to Google acrylic sheets near me. This brought up several places in my area. I was able to find an awesome place where I get all of my acrylic sheets and expanded PVC sheets. With expanded PVC sheets, you do the same thing that you would do with the eucalyptus fiberboard. You measure the height you need, you make your cuts, add your magnets, then slide the panel into the back of the case. Now that you've completed your display, you're gonna wanna fill it up. Check out my Hot Toys preview videos right here. Or go down in the description to click on the link that will take you to Sideshow Collectibles. You can choose from statues to 1/6 scale figures to props. Whatever your heart desires and whatever your fandom may be, Sideshow probably has it. Peace!